Welcome to another WatchitLearnit video. So in today's video what we're actually going to be looking at is methods in C#. So we're going to look at methods that already exist in C#. We're also going to create our own. What I'd like you to do is start a new project, console application, and just call it whatever you like, something like methods, and we'll crack on. Okay, so methods in C#, you might not have realised, but we have used quite a few up until now. So what I've got here is just a very small, it does nothing at the moment really, but a very small program that you don't have to do. It's just a demo of something we're talking about. So we have a couple of variables. We've got an integer called myNumber and a string called myword. Okay, and then we've got something we've seen quite a few times, which is console.writeLine, and then a little bit of a statement that we read out to the displayed on the screen, sorry. We've then got our console read line, which makes the command prompt wait for an input from the user. We've also got this myNumber.toString, getting put into myword, so put into the string. And now we've got the console writing out what's in the myword variable. Okay, so among this, as I say, you've got two variables. And what we've got here is writeLine is actually a method which belongs to the console class. Okay, we know this is a method because of the parentheses. Same with readLine, it's got a couple of parentheses at the end, and that basically tells it's a method. That's a way to identify a method very easily. And these methods belong to the console class. So when we type, let's do it here, console dot, all of these in the IntelliSense, the ones with the purple little box, might be a slightly different color depending on your theme, are the methods that we can call from that class. Okay, so read, read key, read line, there's loads of different ones. They're all methods that belong to that class. So, some intelligent person has wrote out all of these lovely little methods for us, and what a method is basically, you know, anything from one line to hundreds of lines of statements in code that we can execute just simply by calling the method. So the writeLine, for instance, there's actually an awful lot going on in the background to actually put that word, those words, hello world, on the screen. We don't have to know how to do all that. We just need to know how to call the method that will do that for us. Okay? So in a nutshell, that's what a method is. It's lines and lines of statements of code that you might use a lot, so you can make it repeatable by putting it in a method. Okay? And there's lots of methods that are already declared, and there's ways in C# to declare and use our own methods. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of this. Okay, and then what we want to do is we want to go onto the curly brace that's for the end of our main, and we want to go outside of that. Okay, so I'm just going to put a few lines. And while we're out there, we're going to write our own method. So private static void, and we're going to call this method say hello. Okay, and then underneath that, we're going to open and close a code block. Okay, so notice there's no semicolon at the end of this statement. This line here is a method signature, okay, and that contains a few bits of information. The private and the static are two things we're going to cover in the intermediate videos, so for now just accept that we need to have those at the start of these particular methods, but as I say, we are going to cover those in a video later on what they actually are and how to use them and the different ways they can be used. Okay, what we're going to look mostly at today is the last part, the void and the say hello. Okay. Well, we need to write a couple of lines of code. So in this code block are the lines of code that will be executed when we call this say hello method. Alright, so what we'll do is console.writeLine, and we will say hello. So we'll just give it a hello there, semicolon, and just for the sake of having more than one line of code, we'll do a console.readLine. Not that we need it. Semicolon. Okay? So that's our method declared, but if I was to run this program now, nothing would happen. What we need to do is actually call that method, and all we do is simply type say hello, and you'll see IntelliSense has already popped up with the purple box telling us about our method. So what we'll do is give it the braces, semicolon at the end, and save our work. Okay, so when I run this program now, it's going to hit this here, and what it'll actually do is run these lines of code here. Okay, so Control F5, and there you go. Hello there. Okay, so there's actually more we can do with these methods. Okay, so we don't have to just declare them like this. What else we can do is have them take a parameter, so input a value. So like the console.writeLine, we pass it a parameter, we pass it a value. And we can do the same with the methods that we declare. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to specify a particular name that we'll say, say hello there and then Anthony, for instance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this bit of code here to concatenate a variable called name, which technically doesn't exist yet. And we're going to declare that variable within these parentheses here. So string, and we'll call it name. Okay. Notice that our say hello now has an issue, and that is basically that we haven't fulfilled the arguments required. So it's telling us that in here we actually need to pass it a string. Okay. So now when I call say hello, I'm going to pass it the Anthony string, which will be stored in the name value variable, which is then used later on in our lines of code. Okay, so I'm going to save that, Control F5, and there we go. So hello there, Anthony, and that is because we passed that particular value to that method. And we can do it through other tactics and ways. What I can do is I could have a variable, string my name, okay, equals Anthony. And I don't have to pass a string like that. I can pass the actual variable name. That'll also work and will get us exactly the same result. Okay, so there's a little bit of a basic look at the variables. What we can also do is we can have a variable, we can have a method return a value. Okay, so we can actually have it pass back a value to the user that's kicked it off. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I am just going to adjust this slightly. Okay, so what I'm going to have is get rid of that. We're going to get rid of this for now, and we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so try and get back to our basic declared method and without it being called up here for now. We're going to rename our method to my name. Okay, we'll create a string variable called name and we'll initialize it with our name. And what we have to do is to return name. And then this is where we need to make a minor adjustment. So as you can see, we've got an issue here with our return, which is what will pass us back the value that's in the name. And if you look at it carefully, it basically tells us that because we return a void, this won't work. And what we mean by void is this method is expecting to return nothing, a void, an emptiness. Okay? So what we need to do is actually tell the method what type of data it will be returning. Okay? So it's going to return a string. So now that we've said private static string, not void, this is able to pass back a particular value. So what we're going to do up here, we're going to declare a string. We're going to call it my name. Bad practice to have some stuff the same name as each other, but that'll do for now. We're equals, and what we're going to do is we're going to call our my name method. So we need our brackets and our semicolon. So as you can see, no errors so far. And what we're going to do is do console.writeLine, and we're just going to actually in the console use this variable here, which if all has gone well should actually say Anthony, because that is what was returned from the method. So when we get here in the program, it'll create our variable, it'll run our my name method. Our my name method is down here, it'll run. That's going to set Anthony to the name string. Then it's going to return that string back, so that gets fired into the my name variable. And then we actually utilize that data later on. So Control F5, and as you can see, it's passed out Anthony. It's worked a treat. Okay, so we've only got two more little basic methods to look at, and that's sort of the general foundation of methods really quickly covered. Okay, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to do a bit more with the data we're given. So I'm going to delete those. We're going to change this string to an integer now, so we're going to pass back an int. We're going to change this and call it add 50. Oops, add 50. Okay, then we're going to delete what we have in here. Right, so what we're going to do, because we actually want to return a value and we want to pass some data, so I want to be able to pass this method a number and I want to add 50 to it. So because we're going to pass it a number, an integer, we need to declare where that integer is going to temporarily start. So we'll just call it int num. We'll go back into our method. We know that it's going to have this number returned at some point. Okay, go back into our method, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to say int result. So we'll create a new integer, and we're going to say result equals num plus 50. Okay, so we're going to take whatever value we pass the method, we're going to add 50 to it and store it in result. Now we've still got an error because we've said we're going to return an int and currently we're returning nothing. So we'll do return result, semicolon, and that's that. So what we're going to do now then, we're actually going to call our method and we're going to pass our method a number and we're going to use its result that's passed back. Okay, so what we'll do up here is we'll do int, and we'll just call it value for now, equals add 50, and we'll pass it the number 50. Okay, so in theory, if all goes well, our value variable will have our original 50 passed to this method here, it'll have another 50 added to it, and it'll have result passed back, so it should hold 100. Okay, so quick way to test, console.writeLine, open our brackets, type value, semicolon at the end. Save that. We're just going to fire that up, Control and F5 together, and as you can see, we've got the answer 100. Okay, so that's how we can pass and return a value after we've modified the data that we passed the method. Okay, we'll do one more then, just to push this a little bit further. What we're going to do is we're going to change this from add 50 to add together. Okay, and this time we're actually going to put a comma after int num in the part where we declare the parameters, and we're going to put int num2. Okay, so now we've got two parameters to pass our method. And what we'll do is we'll leave int result and we'll leave result equals, but we'll do num equals plus num2. Okay, so it's pretty much the same sum. It's got a result, and in the result it's going to take our original number and our newly added number and add them together and return the result. Okay, so we need to adjust this slightly, so it needs to say add together, and we'll do 50 comma, and as you can see, as we do the comma, it tells us about our method and that it's expecting another integer. Okay, so 50 and 190, why not? Save that, and if we do Control F5, there we go, 240. So when our program ran, it sent these two values down here, it added them together, stored them in result, and also passed them back to be stored in another variable. Okay, so that was a fairly quick video giving you the absolute groundwork on basic methods. So have a play about with them, have a mess around with them. As I say, we'll cover the access modifier and the keyword static in one of the intermediate videos where we talk about methods in a bit more detail. Okay, hope you found that helpful. If you did, hit subscribe, hit like, and we should hopefully be producing videos more often again. See you later.